Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to ESR and RWB Super GT Saturday Series Round 3. We're here at Spa, Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium, and we're streaming Tier 1 tonight, and I'm joined by my number 2, Josh, again.
Hello, I'm the number 2.
So yeah, it should be an exciting race tonight, with Spa being probably one of the most popular tracks for a lot of sim racers, so hopefully everyone should be quite pacey here, since most people know it really well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you go onto the public lobbies and pretty much half of them are running Spa. It's everyone's favourite.
Or Monza.
Yeah, we don't talk about Monza. Turn one lap one is always chaos.
Right, so we've started the stream. We're about 12 minutes into quali. So this week they have made the decision to extend qualifying from 20 minutes to 30 minutes due to complaints about congestion on the track, since obviously the GT4s are about 10 seconds a lap slower. There was a little bit of an uproar about the
let's say heated debate.
Yes, heated debate about qualifying being a little bit unfair for both the classes, getting their laps ruined by other cars. So they've extended it by 10 minutes, so it's now 30-minute qualifying session, to allow for drivers to get out and set their laps on hopefully a more clear track, since everyone can spread their laps out more than they usually would.
Yeah, it's a weird request. I mean, everyone's being compromised, so I mean, if you're able to time the space in front of you correctly, surely you should be rewarded. But I can understand why some drivers might be a bit worried about being compromised by the different classes.
Yeah, so we're nearly coming up to halfway through qualifying now. We've currently got Dan Sedgley on pole position with a 2:19.2 in the Merc. Then we've got James Lacey in the McLaren GT3, Daniel Barnett. Oh no we don't. We've got RWB Carzolia in the Porsche. Then Leo WX in the McLaren again. Mark Elgard, our guy from Tier 2, who's hopefully going to be doing well like he did last week, even after jumping up in the Honda. Somehow only 0.8 off the pace in the Honda. Then if we jump down to GT4, we've got Buchek in first, then Christopher Verstappen in second, and RWB Helmet in third. So, Josh, do you want to give everyone a little rundown of the track?
Yeah, certainly.
Jump on board with... Who do you want to jump on board with tonight, Josh?
Well, let's do Dan. He's coming up now to La Source as he just starts his flying lap. Hopefully he keeps it all the way around so I can talk you through it. Heading down the second main start-finish straight, going around for slight kink. This is super tight, and especially as the race starts here, going up to Eau Rouge, which is the bottom bit, and then Radion, where unfortunately Antoine Hubert lost his life up here last year in the Formula 2 race. As he goes along now, the Kemmel Straight, this is pretty much flat out one of the fastest bits on the track, all the way down, heavy braking just as the curve starts, boom, called it, onto Les Combes, which is a right-left. It's a bit off camber at the start there. Expect a lot of people will still be crashing here as he goes onto Malmedy, which is the 90-degree right. He's now heading up to Bruxelles, which is the only parabolica on this track. Again, heavy braking down into second, hangs it around to the right. At this point, with the GT4s, they'll be stuck behind the GT3 until this point, as he goes around No Name here, which is a nice left-hander. Have to be careful with track limits, especially with the long pit straight. If you get a drive through, that's you kind of goosed. Heading up to Double Gauche, and yes, I'm calling it Double Gauche. If anyone out there has got any arguments about that name, come fight me. Heading up to Lake Fan, which is a heavy braking zone again, down into third, maybe second if you're feeling cheeky, which is a fast right, and then a quick change of direction into the left. Flat out, as he gets a bit sideways, managing to hold it nice and tight as he goes into Campus, which is a right-hander, and then comes up to Stavlot. This is a bit controversial because no one knows if it's actually flat out or not, as we see Sedgley keeping it nice and tight. Going on to Cours pour Frère. So yeah, that's my French lessons panning out quite nicely as I pronounce that extremely well. Heading along flat out all the way down to Blanchimont, which is this little kink to the left here. Have to be careful again of track limits, especially if you go off to the right here. Can split you off and there's a nice bit of grass to throw you off. Heading up to the very heavy braking zone for the final bus stop chicane, which is a quick right-left. You've got the pit entrance there on the right as well, so expect people to get caught out, especially if GT4s are being passed by GT3s as he heads down now onto the main start-finish straight, and that's his time done. A nice, respectable 2:20.0. Not the best, but not the worst. Over to you, Alex.
Yeah, so that was a pretty tidy lap from Mr. Dan Sedgley. 2:20.0. That's decent pace. His fastest is a 2:19.2. Oh, as Tavarian's just put in a 2:18.7, which is almost half a second in front of Dan Sedgley in second. That's a bit sketchy. Good save. So Tavarian's just gone pole by nearly half a second. So, and then if you look back into third, he's nearly a second ahead of third. So the guys behind Tavarian are going to need to step up their game in these last 12 minutes of quali if they want to have any chance of getting on pole. But half a second is quite a big ask, isn't it? If you've put in a solid lap already, to see that you've then got to go half a second quicker with 12 minutes remaining, that's quite a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's a tall ask, but I mean 2:18, that's kind of what I was expecting for the tier 1 guys in terms of quali pace. The track isn't optimum conditions yet, it still has to be rubbered in, but yeah, I mean Tavarian is kind of living up to the expectations I had of high 2:18s on these conditions. I'm just waiting for everyone else to kind of play catch up with him.
Yes. Oh, Tavarian's in the pits at the moment, so that's
no train.
That's not Tavarian. Okay, my camera controls are playing up again this week, as they were last week. So at the moment we're looking off the back of GD in GT4. No, we're not anymore. The camera is being very temperamental tonight. I think we'll just let it do its thing for the rest of quali, and we'll just have a chat about how you think this race is going to go down. We've currently got 10 GT3s and 13 GT4s, so for once it's a GT4 biased race, unlike usual. So do you reckon that's going to make this more interesting than usual, Josh?
That's going to upset so many GT3 drivers. People tend to complain about GT4s, and the GT4s tend to complain about GT3s. But on this track, especially at Les Combes, through Malmedy and Bruxelles, you can't really pass a GT4 driver through there until you get past No Name here, and that's a long time to be stuck behind a GT4. So I think there's going to be a lot of people complaining afterwards. But it is what it is. It's part of racing. It's part of the mixed class. Everyone wanted a mixed class, so you just kind of have to deal with it. And as long as you cooperate, there's not going to be much time lost. You just kind of have to get your head down, pass the traffic, let the traffic pass you without compromising yourself too much, and get on with the job.
Yeah, so I was just thinking about the Spa 12 hour that RWB have got coming up, and that's since been changed to GT3 only due to the lack of GT4 signups. So I feel like a lot of people enjoy GT4s, but many people wouldn't want to drive them for 12 hours because I think they take a lot more effort to drive, since they're a little bit, you've got to be a little bit more smooth with them. You can't just kind of rely on the traction control and ABS and the grip, the downforce. Whereas in the GT3s, you can kind of just throw it in, and I feel like it takes a bit less concentration to drive them. So probably
Definitely.
for a 12-hour, it's probably easier to do GT3, which is, I'm not surprised that that's the more popular sign-up.
Yeah, I mean, everyone loves passing GT4s, but very few people like being passed by GT3s.
Yeah, definitely.
And to have people coming up behind you and constantly being on alert, I think the GT4 drivers in endurance racing with mixed class, they definitely have it harder.
Yeah.
I know for one, I definitely would not want to be concentrating that much. I mean, my attention span is already quite low, so to try and concentrate on who's coming up behind you is...
For the whole 12 hours as well.
Yeah, for 12 hours. Like, even if I'm in for half an hour, I get a headache, so yeah. Yeah, it's a shame that it's not mixed, but I'm also kind of relieved almost that it's not mixed, because that way it just focuses on pure racing the guy ahead of you. You don't have to worry about approaching the back of him, especially with the Aston Martins, because from the rear at night, the GT3s and GT4 Astons, they look identical. And like I've hit a GT4 Aston accidentally thinking it was a GT3 guy that I was racing. So yeah, I'm kind of relieved with that.
Yeah, I'm sure that GT4 was not very happy about that.
Oh, he was livid.
Right, so 7 minutes left in quali. We've still got the same. We've still got the same top three, with Tavarian not improving over his 2:18.7. Sedgley still 4/10 behind. Karzulia's gained about 4/10. He was 9/10 behind, and now he's only half a second behind. So he's nearly on. We might see a change of position for second place. He's only just under a tenth behind P2. So with 7 minutes left, he could still get a couple more laps in. Although Spa's pit lane being about 10 years long, might take him a while to get out there, as they've got to sit at 40 miles an hour for 2 whole straights of the track. So yeah, he might not be going back out. He's currently sitting in the pits. Then Jay Lacey in 4th place, only 6/10 behind. Elgard in 7/10. So the top 5 are only separated by 7/10. Elgard just puts in a faster lap and goes into 4th, ahead of Jay Lacey. So now it's the top 5 separated by 6/10, and then half a second down to P6. And then, yeah, so the last 4 GT4s, the last 5 GT3s are kind of about 1.6, somewhere between 1.6 and 2 seconds off the pace. Then in GT4s, the huge mass of GT4s, which is weird to see, having more GT4s than GT3s. Buchek is still in P1. C. Verstappen is just 0.9 of a second behind, so he's quite fairly far behind. So I don't know whether we'll see him making up nearly a whole second in these last few minutes, since the GT4s will actually only get, if they're already out, they'll get 2 more laps.
I mean, you say that, but then Verstappen's just gone ahead and put 0.4 seconds ahead of Buchek.
Yep. So
that's commentator luck right there.
Yeah, exactly. I gave him the commentator's charm, not the commentator's curse. So yeah, and then looking down the GT4 board, we've got RWB Helmet in P3, Goat Friend in P4, Allegria in P5, Sharp P6. We saw Sharp win the last race, I think, at Nürburgring.
Suzuka, you mean?
Suzuka.
Yeah.
Thanks for the
all the
correction.
weekends mixed up.
Yeah, it was Nürburgring the week before, wasn't it? Had a busy week. Yeah, so we saw Adam Sharp win Suzuka. He doesn't seem to have the pace here. He's currently 2 and a bit seconds off the pole time, so don't know what's going on with him this week.
Yeah, this track is it rewards consistency, it rewards smooth driving.
Yeah.
You don't want to abuse it. I mean, yeah, there's been a lot of incidents around Spa in the real world, and it's like if you watch the 12 hours of Spa that the Block Pan do, most of the people like end up with 25% of the grid going off into the barriers because they just lose concentration. It's pretty much, I mean, I'd class it on a similar level of Nürburgring in terms of the amount of concentration you need over a 12-hour, 6-hour stint.
Definitely. It is. Some of those curbs in the middle sector are quite unforgiving, is the word.
I mean, the whole track here is just unforgiving in general. There's so many places you can go off and get a track penalty. I mean, we see it here now with Barnett. If you go off in double gauche, that's you got a track limit. Him coming up to now, Lefan, if you run wide at Lefan on exit, as hopefully we don't see him do here, on this exit here, that's you got a track limits, campus track limits, especially Stavelo, which he's coming up to now. Track limits quite easily done, and then within 4 corners, actually you potentially got 4 of your lives lost for track limits, and then it's about a 45-second drive through the pit lane, which, yeah, it's just absolutely brutal, this track. It rewards smooth driving and staying within the white lines.
Yeah, so if we have a look, top 3, we've actually seen Dan Sedgley go even faster than Tavarian. He's jumped up from P2 to P1 now, gone 1.5 tenths quicker than Tavarian. Then in P3 we've got LWX, who is 3 tenths off Sedgley, and then Carzoli, who was previously in P3. So we've actually had quite a jump around of the top 5, and now Jay Lacey is up in with the faster guys, being only 7 tenths off Dan Sedgley's time, and then 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. There's actually 11 GT3s now. They're all over nearly 2 seconds off Dan Sedgley's time, down to Dave Crew in 11th place, last of the GT3s, 2.5 seconds off the pace. Verstappen is still up in pole position for the GT4s, with Buchek in 2nd, RWB Helmet in 3rd still. And then Burek has promoted himself to 4th, Goat Friend 5th, Allegria 6th, Adam Sharp still down in 7th. He hasn't managed to improve since we last had a look at the standings. So yeah, with 1 minute left in quali, I think they'll all be on their last lap or looking to cross the line with the minimum amount of time to hopefully get over the line before the timer runs out, so they can set one last lap. So we might still see a couple more changes, but yeah, the chance of massive shake-ups, unless you see Sam Snell. Not Sam Snelltrain, just not sure of his first name at the moment.
Sam Smelt's the wrong guy.
Yes, every time I see S Snelltrain I think of Sam Smelt, but it's not. There we go, I've got my camera controls back now. They were being very annoying and not working. So it is actually Sam Snelltrain, I was right, even though I was getting him mixed up with Sam Smelt. Yeah, so Sam Snelltrain just went faster than D Barnett and put himself up into 9th. So that's the qualifying timer has just ended now. So if people haven't crossed the line before now, then they're not able to do another lap. I don't know if we can find anyone that's on a lap. No, it's not letting me change camera now either. This is not going amazingly well with the on the camera side of things. We've just got to look inside one of the pit boxes, which is actually quite empty.
Yeah, it's I am kind of laughing inside at the that gap of 1.3 seconds to the leader. I mean, Carolia is only 0.5 seconds off Jay Lacey, and I don't think that's his pace. From what we've seen in like at Suzuka. Maybe it's people not getting enough practice. I think it's people getting held up by GT4. I was in the race chat before, listening in, and RWB Rigel, who kind of leads and makes sure everyone's doing everything correctly, did tell them don't everyone go out all at once. Like, everyone will get a lap in. It's 30 minutes. Just take your time getting out, because otherwise you won't be held up by someone in front. And what happens? I go back to look at the start of quali, and everyone's just jumping out of the pits all at the same time, fighting over each other and trying to get position. It's that kind of thing where everyone's complaining that everyone's leaving at the same time, but no one wants to leave last, do they?
No, exactly. Even when you tell people, don't all leave at the same time. Obviously, I feel like everyone thinks the same thing. Everyone's like, oh, well, I'll leave first, and other people can wait. And then no one ends up waiting. So then you see what we saw at the start of quali, which was still a massive train of people going out at the same time. So yeah, my camera controls still aren't wanting to play. So hopefully when we get into the race, it will allow us to see more rather than just the back of one car. But we'll have to find out. If not, I'll have to try and find a quick fix for it, and hopefully not miss too much of the action.
Yeah, I mean, Spa's always good fun at the start. Everyone tries to go 3 wide at Eau Rouge, and then at Radion, everyone just ends up getting spat out onto the barriers on this side. It's great for us to watch, not great for those guys who are racing. So, yeah. But it's 3 minutes until the race starts anyway, so plenty of time.
Yeah, so at the moment, we're just getting this one view. Let's just keep trying to fix it. So, Josh, do you want to give us a little bit of history about this track?
Well, I thought you'd never ask. This track is ancient. I mean, it's coming up to its 100th birthday. Well, since it started being built. Built in 1921 in the Ardennes region, down in Belgium. And yeah, it's hosted endurance racing and motor racing for ages. I mean, it started doing endurance racing only a year after Le Mans was launched. So yeah, it's hosted the European Grand Prix in 1925 for the first time, and yeah, unfortunately it was damaged during World War II, but it got back up to speed in 1947. So yeah, at least we still have this track. But then it had a massive renovation when after Jackie Stewart and a bunch of other racing drivers boycotted Spa, because I mean, no one wants to crash into hay bales, do they? But yeah, it's unfortunately a lot of drivers have lost their lives around this infamous track. And as I said earlier, most recent being Antoine Hubert, who died aged 22 in a Formula 2 car, and unfortunately lost it at the top of Radion. But yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's racing, and at least he passed doing something that he loved doing. So yeah. But on a lighter note, yeah, this track, as I was saying earlier, it rewards smooth driving consistency. And as I said, like, if you run wide, lose all your lives for track limits, it's a long pit straight all the way down. It starts up here where you see them now, and then runs all the way down until the start of Eau Rouge. So that's about a 30, 45-second loss just from driving all the way through the pits. So hopefully everyone keeps that in mind and doesn't do anything stupid or tries to push too hard outside their limits.
Yeah, definitely the first corner going up Eau Rouge and Radion can be quite sketchy, because you've got some people confident enough to take it flat on the first lap. Some people are thinking, oh, I'll just brake just to make sure that I don't get a first track limits warning on the first corner or take anyone out. So you can get a little bit of difference in like braking points up Eau Rouge, and it's very easy to end up with a massive crash because it's very high speed as well. So one little tap, one person spinning at the top of Radion, then can just cause a huge pile up. So I think we're gonna have to try and watch the start of the race from this camera view. Unless I can, right, this is the best camera view we can get for now. But I mean, at least we can see the front of the pack. So hopefully we might be able to see the turn 1 action or lack of action, depending on how it goes for the drivers. And they've just gone green. And it looks like everyone's had a decent start. And Sedgley's managed to pull out in front. It looks like Eau Rouge has been pretty clean for the front of the pack. Not sure what's happened down the back, but I can't see. Oh, is it they're going 3 wide and they've hit into each other? And yeah, that's just not, the drivers aren't being aware enough going down the straight on how close they are to the other cars. And someone's clearly just turned into the side of another car on the straight and just hit him sideways into another car, and then that's 2-3 cars off the track. I don't know how many other people got caught up in that, but hopefully not too many.
Did you remember to go back to the feed for OBS?
Yeah, it should be. I don't know what's happening right now. OBS isn't. Yeah, so sorry. There's actually no image. Didn't realise that. OBS.
Don't worry, you haven't missed anything. Everyone's managed to get through quite cleanly. As well, I'll take over while Alex fixes it. As they're heading now through Les Fans, everyone's lining up. It's currently Dan Sedgley, Tverian, WX, Carzolia, Elgard, Lacey, Carolia, Higgs, Barnett, all the way through. Unfortunately, we seem to have lost 2 drivers, Snell Train and crew, in an incident as they're now fighting amongst the GT4s to try and get some positions back. Maybe hopefully get back in the fight, but it's not looking too good for them at the moment. We now have Sedgley leading all the way through past Blanchimont as they come up to the bus stop chicane. It's still leading Sedgley as we see Elgard having a look on the inside into the bus stop chicane. No luck there, he's having to pull out. As we now come along the main straight, everyone seems to be getting out of there quite nicely. No incidents in the braking zone up to the bus stop chicane, which we do see some people going for lunges down the inside and taking each other out. But as they come now to La Source, everyone's keeping it nice and clean. It's a nice train all the way through. So again, don't worry, you're not missing anything. But yeah, you're good, Alex.
Yeah, I'm just sorting it out. It's just OBS has decided that it wants to not work either, which is great timing because we've now got no camera controls and no game stream at the moment, which is not great. But
hopefully my radio voice is good enough for you guys. As you see Sedgley having to defend from Tverian leading into Lake Con. Sedgley going down the inside, managing to defend it with Tverian managing to tuck in right behind Sedgley again. It's still P1, P2 for those two. Sedgley heading down now past Malmedy, all the way down to Bruxelles. Sedgley, Tverian has another look down the inside, but manages to pull back in, goes back onto the racing line, with Sedgley managing to pull around. Still quite clean, no positions changed through the GT3s. Back in GT4, we see Buchek and P1 with Verstappen, with Helmet, Goatfriend, Burek, Sharp, Roland, Aguilar, Rigel down in P20 overall. Not a great start for him. I think he was hoping to be up there, especially after last week at Suzuka, where he did phenomenally well and was in P3, P2. He was on the podium, which was amazing to see him represent the RWB members. Should I say members or admin? Let's go with admins, because there's plenty of RWB members here. But yeah, as we see everyone going back into the GT3s, going around campus, Tverian still having tons of looks down the inside, but he manages, he doesn't manage anything. Sedgley's still keeping him behind right where he wants, but we've got everyone's super packed together. I mean, we've got WX trying to fend off 4 GT3s. He's got Carzolia, Elgard, Lacey, and Carolia right behind him, but all looking to have a look, but managing, luckily, Leo Wicks is managing to keep everyone behind him. Now heading up to the bus stop chicane, again, checking you've got Tavarian having a look down the inside, but he doesn't do anything. Essentially manages to cover him off as he heads now down the main pit straight, well, at least the first pit straight. No positions have changed, although that looks like it's Karzolia now ahead of Elgard. That position's managed to change around a little bit as they're all coming down the main straight up to Eau Rouge. Apologies about the lack of information for GT4. I'm still looking at GT3s, but GoFriend is currently defending off 3 other GT4s. He's got a nice train behind him of Burek, Sharp, and Roland, with Allegria having to defend off Rigel, who's 0.9 seconds behind him. Let's see if that gap goes down. We've also got D. Anderson defending off Greedy in the Chevrolet Camaro. It looks like Greedy is catching up. He's now 0.5 behind Anderson as they come up just past La Source. We now have Karzolia making a move on Elgard. Can Karzolia do it? It doesn't look like he's managing to do it. We'll see in a second when they go past the timing screens, but we've still got Sedgley MP1 with Tavarian managing to hold within that 1 second gap. He'll be wanting to see if he can see any weaknesses from Sedgley, but we'll see. So yeah, as we see Elgard, he's now managing to defend off Karzolia. Karzolia's dropped back a little bit to 0.3 seconds behind. But yeah, it's still not looking good for the image, but Alex is working on it, and hopefully, as I said, I'm not doing too badly with this. Carolia is still 0.7 seconds behind Jay Lacey in P6 and the number 69 McLaren, keeping it nice and tight. But Mark Elgard still fighting off Karzolia. Karzolia's got a train behind him as well. He's wanting past Elgard so that he can kind of get out of the way. But yeah, Elgard's still managing to keep ahead. We've also... Yeah, Elgard's still managing to stay ahead. Carolia is still chasing Jay Lacey, with Higgs having to back off Dan Barnett in the number 15 Porsche. Of course, we talked about the Porsche's VOP last week being adjusted. The car's been nerfed, so I think the guys who were wanting to do the Porsches unfortunately aren't having much luck. But yeah, we'll get back to the action in a second. Don't worry, lads. Don't go anywhere. We're just restarting the game for you.
It is just being sorted now.
But yeah, it's interesting because the Porsche historically in ACC has always been really dominant around Spa. You normally see quite a lot of Porsches being up in P1, P2, P3 on the podium spots. But yeah, since that bop, it looks like they've been... I think everyone's either still getting used to it or the bop has hit them really hard around Spa, because Spa is a fairly technical course relative to other tracks. It's no Monza. But yeah, we'll see how it does. I mean, the Honda with Elgard in it, it's doing really well. It's up into P5. So yeah, it's not looking too shabby for Elgard. I know he chose the Honda to try and nerf himself a bit. But yeah, here's hoping.
Yeah, I'm thinking those mid-speed directional changing corners in the middle of the track at Spa, like in the middle sector of the track, like what's it called? Hang on, I've forgotten the name of that corner. It is Les Combes, yeah, Les Combes and Les Fans. Both of them are kind of like mid-speed weight transfer direction change corners. And they're both of those sets of corners are will have been hit fairly hard by the nerf on the Porsche, since that was kind of, well, what people predict was the most hard hit part was the weight transfer and agility of it, as well as the initial acceleration out of the corners.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Blair's Games in the chat says quite rightly the Porsche is extremely draggy. There's a lot of times I'm following people on the Kemmel Straight and we just seem to walk away from me, which is extremely infuriating. But the Porsche is still amazing on the brakes. I mean, I love driving the Porsche just because you can dive really late in the braking zones and take people, especially at Les Combes and at the bus stop chicane. It's a brilliant car, but yeah, you have to manage the balance of the car exceptionally well. There's a lot of kind of using both the throttle and the brake mid-corner to try and keep the balance, keep the car level. So yeah, it's a tough car to drive, but I was going to say it's rewarding. It used to be rewarding, but now it's a bit. It's been hit hard by this bop.
We had an image back for a second, but it decided that it wanted to change its size. So I think just a couple more seconds, and hopefully we'll be able to get back into actually showing you the action. But for now, I think you'll have to deal with Josh's radio voice. Hopefully he can see it again now.
Yeah, hopefully. I'll just load up my end and get back to radio voice.
Here we go. It looks like it's all starting to work again now. Quick restart. Well, not very quick. Sorry about that, guys, but technical things like to not. They like to you know what I mean.
They always turn up at the wrong times, don't they?
Yeah, technical issues. Right, here we go. This should be the image back for you now. There we go.
Yeah, so I can start to inform you guys about the GT4 pack. We've still got Butrek in P1 with Verstappen behind him. Helmet's managed to make up a place, as it was on the grid. It was a 1-2-3 McLaren, but Goatfriend has been passed by Helmet and is now in P4. He's now 2 seconds down the road from Helmet, who's in P3. We have Adam Sharp, who's currently been chased by Rowlands. So yeah, Rowlands is currently 0.2 seconds behind Sharp. So hopefully the two Astons will have a fight. Currently on board with Matt Higgs, who's being chased by Dan Barnett. They're both in P8 and P7, P8 and P9 respectively, as he's 0.25 seconds behind. Currently on board with our Pinpoints. That's a nice GT4 train there, following Greedy, and Dan Anderson, who's currently in. Well, let me see if I can count that correctly. It looks like P9 in class. Of course, now we're back up with the GT3s. They're still fairly bunched up together, as we see Leo Wicks being chased down by Matt Elgard. Matt Elgard taking the, as they go up to Eau Rouge, he's taking advantage of the slipstream. Hopefully he can maintain that slipstream all the way along the Kemmel Straight. As we see Elgard go off, so unfortunately that dirty air may have thrown him a little wide. Hopefully it was just a spot of lag, but he seems to be back on the chase of Leo Wicks. He doesn't seem to have lost too much time. As we head into the Lake complex, see Matt Elgard keeping it nice and clean all the way around. He's not waiting to lose too much time. He's still chasing him down. He's under pressure from Carzoli and James Lacey behind him in the Porsche and McLaren. They're currently 0.6 seconds behind Matt Elgard as he goes down through Bruxelles. Up in front in P1 of the GT3s and overall, we still have Dan Sedgley in the lead in the Mercedes, number 29. He's currently been chased down by Tverian in the number 58 Ferrari. 0.3 seconds splits them. Hopefully Tverian. He showed pace in quali, so did Sedgley. I bet Tverian's hoping he can catch up to some GT4 traffic to try and slow Sedgley down enough so that he can make a move. He will still be looking for that opportunity, but it's not looking likely at the moment. Matt Elgard's still being chased down by Carzoli and James Lacey. It looks like Carzoli keeps having a look. He's pretty much rubbing his bumper at this point. 0.2 seconds behind Elgard at the moment. Further down, we see that the GT3s who fell behind Snell Train and Crew and the two Porsches, they've managed to catch up to the GT3 train, or at least past the GT4s. They're about 6-7 seconds behind Dan Barnett in the P9 Porsche. Looking down at the GT4s, Butrek again still ahead. Verstappen's a nice 1.5 seconds behind him, so he's under no pressure whatsoever, with Helmet being 7 seconds behind Verstappen. So those two, I reckon if Verstappen can catch up to Butrek, it's a done deal for those two in P1, P2. Just keep it clean, no drive-throughs, and see it to the end.
Okay, so I think we're finally back to running smoothly. So sorry about having to put up with Josh's no image commentary, although it was very good. I have to commend you for that.
Oh, maybe I should be number one. You can be my number two.
Yeah, so back in the GT4s, since we haven't covered them at all after not being able to control the cameras, we've got Ignacy Bucek in first and Christoph Verstappen in second, RWB Helmet in third. So I think that hasn't changed since qualifying. They're all sitting in their qualifying positions. Verstappen's 1.8 off the back of Bucek, and then another 7.2 seconds down to Helmet. So these two at the front, as we saw last week in the GT4s with two people running away, and it was Bucek. It was Bucek and Adam Sharp ran away with the race last week before Bucek had an unfortunate incident at the hairpin at Suzuka and ended up losing the lead after being, I think he must have been like 7 seconds ahead. So yeah, Bucek's going to be happy with how his race going at the moment because he's out in first as after it got a little bit robbed from him last week. But Adam Sharp is down in fifth in the GT4 class. He's only 8/10 off the guys ahead. We'll jump on board with them. You can see he's following a goat friend pretty closely. It's just flicking in between 8 and 9/10 the gap between them, and then another 9/10 back to Gareth Rowlands, and then Claudio Allegria behind is 3.6 seconds behind Gareth Rowlands in the McLaren. So yeah, so the GT4 pack is kind of got two front running groups of the two-man group of Bucek and Verstappen out front, and then Helmet is a couple seconds ahead of Goatfriend, and then Sharp, Goatfriend, Rowlands are in their own little group. And then going down the order, we've got Martin Schaefer again in the Maserati again this week with those nice downshifts, and he's currently behind this group of cars, as I think that was Dan Anderson just went sideways through No Name and ended up losing 2 or 3 positions. I think it was just 2 positions to Varley and Schaefer, who managed to get past after he got a fairly awful exit. And there you go, you can see him popping into the mirror now. And Varley and Pinpoint are now going side by side around through Les Fans. So this is a little bit of quite a tight pack of GT4s. They're all battling. One person makes a mistake, a couple people get a couple of overtakes. So that this seems to be quite a intense part of the GT4 pack, as they're all really tightly bunched up and swapping positions quite often.
Well, while you've been watching GT4s, I've managed to get into the service. So I've been watching the GT3s and up top, and Leo Wicks is now hunting down Severian. So as I said earlier, they were having there was a nice gap to Severian, but I wonder if Leo Wicks has just kind of pulled his thumb out and is now chasing down Severian. So I wonder if Severian and Sedgley are slowing each other down by fighting and having to defend off each other. But yeah, now Leo Wicks is back in contention for maybe a P2, even a P1 if Sedgley and Severian aren't careful.
Yeah, so we're on the back of Tavarian's car looking at Leo Wicks chasing him down. So yeah, the gap has gone down to only 7/10 now, and Tavarian is currently 7/10 behind Sedgley as well. In fact, it's just gone up to a second as they cross the line. But yeah, he's definitely gained a lot of time on Tavarian, so maybe they have been battling at the front, who knows. But yeah, so Leo Wicks has managed to put himself in a good position for a podium, and Elgard is 1.5 seconds behind. So he's up into P4 now in that Honda, and looks like he's catching that pack. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Elgard coming up and having a go for a podium, knowing his pace. Looking back at the last 2 weeks, he's a very fast driver, So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets himself up into those podium positions.
Definitely. Further down in GT4, I can't remember what his first name is, but the number 4 Porsche, down in 23 overall. He's currently battling Schaefer as, although Schaefer's now just managed to pass Al again to retake the position. So, yeah, they were fighting it out up to Les Combes. Mad Al managed to get past into Les Combes, and then Schaefer just took him around the outside of Double Gauche. Like, it's just
and
we're
in
looking in all the wrong places.
Well.
Yeah, we're looking in all the wrong places at the moment.
The problem is, everything happened so quick with the multi-class. It's hard to keep track of it both.
Oh yeah, definitely. As you see Simcox running wide at the exit of whatever that name is. I really need to learn these track names. That was Stavolotti. Yeah.
It's a long track, Josh. It's a long track. You've got an excuse.
It's a long track with a long week. But yeah, as you see, the pit window is now open for 20 minutes.
So we're looking at RWB Carzolia, because we can see that James Lacey is right on his bumper now. He's managed to catch up a lot of time. So we might see they're just going into the bus stop chicane. So we might see maybe a late lunge into La Source, the first corner. Or
I'll tell you where you want to look now. You want to look at Rollins and Sharp. You definitely want to look at those guys in the GT4s because they're currently battling out.
Oh yeah, side by side on the Kemmel Straight. To Aston v Aston, so there's no excuses of he was in the faster car in the straight line. They're in exactly the same powered car, and obviously they'll have setup differences, but I'm not sure how much work these guys put into their setups before these weekly races, because obviously setup, if you want to put a lot of work into it, can take days to get right, whereas these guys have got a week to practice for one track and then straight onto another track. So whether they've got a bank of setups already lined up for all the races from previous racing they've done, or whether they're trying to make whole new setups, or doing what I do and downloading them off YouTube.
I know we're engineering students, Alex, but I do the same thing. I download my setups as well.
Exactly. Download the setup, change the tyre pressures, and maybe adjust like an anti-roll bar or something, and that's about it. That gets me around most of my races. Probably doesn't help me, but you know. So Gareth Rowlands is really pushing the back of Goat Friend. It's not. It's Adam Sharp and Rowlands. So yeah, Adam Sharp's definitely a pacey driver, as he won last week. He's pushing the back of Rowlands through the middle sector. They're just coming onto the final straight around Blanchimont now. So we might see. No, it's a little bit of a bigger gap than what it just was. I was thinking maybe there might be a move coming into the bus stop, but Adam Sharp clearly didn't have a good run out of Stavelot onto the Corb Paul Frere. Sorry, my French isn't as good as Josh's from earlier.
I'll tell you who else has made a move. Jay Lacey managed to make a move on Carzolia coming into Les Fang.
He did manage
to get a good drive out of Double Gauche.
We seem to be going on watching a battle, moving, and then missing the actual overtake this week. Not a lot of things seem to be going our way, but you know, we'll carry on.
Yeah, I'm quite glad I managed to get that spectator password off you. I'm having an absolute laugh. I'm watching all the battles, it seems.
So let's just have a look down in P12. We've got Sam Snelltrain. He's GT3 and he's already made his pit stop. He's the only person so far to make the pit stop. And he's actually put himself probably at a disadvantage because he's put himself down into the GT4 pack. So he's now got two GT4s ahead of him who he's now got to overtake before he can carry on battling the rest of his GT3 brothers.
Yeah, he's going to be quite annoyed with that. I mean, luckily he's not come up to the GT4 traffic like James Lacey has on the Kemmel Straight and Carolia. But yeah, he's going to be kicking himself if he catches up to any GT4s. Well, that's his kind of undercut slightly gone.
Yeah, so my guess would be that he had damage or something, because if they're lapping the GT4s, I don't know how he's managed to drop back with a pit stop. So my guess would be that he got damage on. I'm guessing he's in a Porsche, and it was a Porsche that was crashed out on the first lap while the stream was down.
Unfortunately, that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm guessing he got major damage from that and has been limping his way round, waiting for the pit window to open, and then has pitted straight away as soon as he could, and then probably had a minute or two of repairs to his car. So that would explain why he's all the way down in the GT4 pack, but that puts him over a lap behind the rest of the GT3s, which is unfortunate.
It is, but you just have to kind of take it on the chin and keep going. You never know. Some people ahead might end up crashing out, as Leo Wicks did, or at least it must have been a crash, because Matt Elgaard seemed to pass him quite quickly and quite easily, especially with that gap that he had.
Yeah, well, I think it was about 8/10, so I was saying earlier that we might see Elgaard pushing his way up for a podium, and he's managed to get the overtake done on Leo Wicks, as he's now been promoted to P2. As I guess someone's in the pit stop. Yeah, Tavarian and Carzoli are in the pits, so he's been promoted up. Dan Sedgley's going a lap longer. We might see the undercut being quite powerful again here, like it was at Suzuka, just because of just traffic on your outlap out of the pits. If you pit earlier, depending on the timing of the lap, depending on the length of the lap and when you're coming up to the back of the GT4s, some people the kind of pit stop strategy will change track to track, because obviously you want as much time in clear air. So if you can pit when you're catching up on the back of GT4s, then you're not wasting the time trying to overtake them. You're doing your pit stop, and then hopefully when you come out of the pits on your outlap, you're past all the GT4s, or they're far enough ahead that you can have a clean lap, so that when the person you were battling for position with pits, they'll come out behind you.
Definitely. I mean, the time to push for the GT3s is now, because that's half the GT4s either pitted or in the pits right now.
Yeah.
So the GT3s need to get their heads down and push now, because there's not going to be that much traffic out on track.
I would have thought Elgaard would have pitted earlier, considering we've just watched him go past quite a few GT4 cars and probably lose a fair amount of time. So I would have thought his plan would be to pit before he catches the back of them, but I guess not.
Yeah, I mean, this may sound sad, but if I've got a serious race coming up, I'll time my pit stops in a practice session, so that I know how much of a gap I need to leave behind me in order to kind of come out in clean air. It might be a bit sad, but that's what you have to do.
It is, Josh.
Yeah, you have to do if you want to be ahead.
We just saw Leo Wicks dive into the pit lane, and Lacey and Elgaard are going out for another lap. They've still got 12 minutes left in the pit window, so they can go as long as they want, so long as they don't over miscalculate and go over the 12 minutes, because I think it's a stop go, 30-second stop go penalty, which is at this track a minute and a half you lose.
Yeah, it's absolutely brutal. And yeah, they can't do that trick that you can do in practice or qualifying, where you turn off the pit limiter and sit just below 70 kph.
Yeah,
you have to stick to that 50. So if you go over it by even 2 kilometers an hour, that's you give it a 1.5 minute penalty, which is in racing, that's just so long. That's effectively a half lap here.
Yeah, and that's pretty much your race over. So we're looking at Tavarian, who is currently our race leader, provisional race leader, and he's just had a little bit of GT4 traffic to navigate, but he's got an 11-second lead over Carzoli, so he's pretty safe at the moment. We'll see once he comes round where Leo Wicks comes out, whether he comes out close to the back of him, but I think Tavarian is probably going to have a fairly sizable gap over anyone behind him after these pit stops.
Yeah, like speaking of pit stops, the current leader in GT4, Verstappen, he's got a 39-second advantage over the current P2, but all those guys haven't pitted currently, so we can't actually tell if the undercut's been successful or not. I mean, I'm hoping it's been successful for everyone because there's nothing frustrating. Well, more frustrating than going into the pits, thinking you've got the undercut with free air, and then you come out.
Yeah, and you still get
do your
overtaken.
lap, and yeah, the guy who comes out the pits is still ahead of you, and you're just like, oh well, shit. That's my strategy just gone out the window. I'm going to have to actually rely on my pace rather than my wit almost.
Oh, there you go. Two of them going nearly side by side into the pit lane. That would have been a bit sketchy. So that's Verstappen and D. So Schaefer has stayed out another lap. So he's currently in the lead of the GT4 race, but only provisionally until he pits, and then he'll be back down. I think he was P6 or something, P7 maybe. So I think, yeah, it's just Ignacy Buchek behind him now, who has pitted. So he's in the lead. Helmet is in P2, and Allegria is in P3, who hasn't pitted. So we'll see him dropping down. And then Goatfriend is in P3 of the people who have pitted. So there's M. Schaefer going into the pit lane now. So we'll after the next lap, the GT4 field will get reset back to actual positions rather than
provisional.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't have a moment of silence for the downshifts on that.
Yeah, I did notice them. They were sounding very nice into the bus stop chicane and breaking into the pit lane. So out front with Dan Sedgley, he's got a 9-second lead over James Lacey and a 15-second lead over Mohamed Karolia. I don't know whether we'll see Elgard. I doubt we'll see Elgard getting the undercut done. He was a fair chunk of time behind before the pit stops. Matt Higgs, who was 3rd place last week, was he? Oh no, Matt Higgs was another one who was
yeah, he got bumped up.
Bumped
he was
up
P2
from tier 2.
Nürburgring in the tier 2 guys.
So yeah, he's in P5 at the moment, which is P2 of the guys who have pitted. I haven't noticed him in this race. I don't know where he's been. I don't know whether that's just me not being very observant.
Matt Higgs has generally been around P7. He's only just coming out of the pits now. Currently watching him.
That's why.
As he's currently just managed to run off, but he's going to be getting passed by the GT4s in a second.
So yeah, this is him coming out of the pit lane, and he's down to P7 in GT3. The top 3 make that P8 now as Carzolia goes past him. Yeah, the top 3 in GT3 still haven't pitted. Tavarian is probably going to take the lead again once those top 3 pit. I don't think the overcut is going to be the desirable strategy since it's only 1 tyre compound.
No, Sedgley needs to just absolutely nail this. He needs to nail his pit stop. No missing the pit box. Or
yeah, no reversing back into the pit box.
Yeah, he needs to get in there and do it well as he's passing Rigel now in the GT4 Porsche.
So let's jump back to the GT4s because we've got a pack of 4 of them, and then a pack of 3 of them, and then a GT3 behind. I think, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that's the GT3 behind them.
So we're on with Goatfriend, and Gareth Rowlands is just 6/10 behind in the Aston. So the Porsche in between them is the GT3, and the green and red Aston is Gareth Rowlands in the GT4s, who's currently battling with a Goatfriend in the McLaren, who we're looking at right now. And then the McLaren in front is a GT3 as well.
No, it's a GT4 Allegria.
Is it?
Yeah, it's Allegria in the GT4, but he's still got to make his pit stop, so he's currently being held up Well, GoFriend is currently being held up by Allegria.
Somehow Allegria has lost 4.3 seconds then since the last split, because that's the gap. Or no, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's 4.3 seconds from Helmet to Allegria. So yeah, so the top 3 of GT4 after the pit stops is not changed. We've still got Ignacy Bucek in first, Christoph Verstappen in second, and RWB Helmet in third. And then it's a 20-second gap. Oh no, Helmet's got a 20-second gap to Verstappen. So I don't think he's going to be getting on the top 2 sets of the podiums today, unless one of the front 2 make a major mistake. But I mean, we've seen Bucek has pretty good consistency. So it was only last week when he got caught up with the GT3.
Definitely. And you know how you're wondering about the overcuts? That's Dan Sedgley in the pits now, just pitted.
Oh yes,
so
there you go. So
he's going to be looking at that split time to Tavarian.
Definitely,
and just be praying that Tavarian gets held up by someone.
So Tavarian's just going around Blanchimont to approach the. Is he? No, he's not. Where is Tavarian on the track? He's just going around Stavelot.
That's 2 rights, yeah.
Just going around Stavelot now. Onto the Corbe Paul Frere. And then he's going to go around Blanchimont, around the bus stop. And then we'll find out whether Dan Sedgley's made the overcut work or not.
Well, bad news for Tavarian. That's Dan Sedgley about to. Well, he's just left the pit limit. Oh no, he's just gone around La Source. It's quite confusing with the 2 pits.
Yeah,
that's now in the second stretch of the pit limit.
With such a long pit lane, it's quite. You see them leaving their pit box, but then you forget that they've actually got to sit on the pit limiter for like 30 seconds. So that Tavarian can make up a lot of time in that.
I don't think he's made enough though. That's Dan Sedgley now exited the pits and heading up Eau Rouge now.
Okay. So, yeah, there you go. You can see Dan Sedgley's out of the pit limit section, and he's now able to go flat out down the Kemmel Straight, and he's got a gap of, I think, 7 seconds over Tavarian, which is sizable. So he's managed to make the overcut work quite well, to be fair, surprisingly.
Definitely.
So down in third place with Elgard, he is 7 seconds behind Tavarian. So I think they've been doing similar pace. They've both got, in fact, Elgard's fastest lap is about half a second slower than Tavarian's fastest lap. So I don't think we're going to see Elgard catching Tavarian on raw pace today. And then Leo Wicks behind is similar pace to Elgard, 1.4 seconds behind. So you never know, Leo Wicks might be able to make up that gap. It's only 1.4 seconds. You can see on board with him, you can see how close that's Elgard in front in the Honda. It's not that big of a gap. You never know with a track like this. You could one small mistake and you can easily make up that gap and be right on his bumper and pressuring him. Down in
once, yeah.
Oh, go on.
Once Allegri has made his pit stop, do you want a Joshua Barton patent pending rundown of the entire thing? I'll do my speed run.
We will do that. Yeah. So Allegri is the only person out of everyone who hasn't pitted, and has to pit at the end of this lap. It's going to be tight. There's only 1.5 minutes for him to get round to the pit lane before that penalty will get handed to him. So I don't know. I think he should be able to do it with.
From my experience, the pit window is, so as soon as it goes 0, that's you're not allowed to enter the start of the pit limit area. So
so long as you're over the
as long as
pit
you're
limit
over
line.
it, like before the 1 second, before it ticks to 0, you're fine. So you can make your pit after the pit window is closed, but you just can't enter the pits
Okay.
With it counting.
So he should make it round in time. Assuming he's noticed that the pit window's about to close. But Adam Sharp behind, who's not even battling for position with Allegria. You can see him all over the back of him. It's probably quite frustrating knowing that you're being held up by someone who's not even in your race. And kind of just like Gareth Rowland's ahead is just out of reach of them. So yeah. Oh no, he's not.
Well,
so
that's some ghost. That's
Allegri's. I was expecting him to go in the pits, but Allegri has not gone in the pit lane. So I think we're going to see Allegri getting
the DQ in a second.
Or yeah, whatever it is. Is it a disqualification or is it a penalty?
It might be a penalty, but yeah, it's. I'm going to say it's an interesting tactic that he's got for.
Well, we'll find out. There you go. The pit window's just closed. Oh, maybe it doesn't. I think maybe it will give it to him at the end of the race because you can see if you look down the left-hand side, everyone's got a green box by their name, and then Allegri's got an orange one with a 1 in the middle, which means he's still got 1 pit stop to complete. But he now can't complete that pit stop. So I think at the end of the race we'll see him getting penalised. That's going to be even more frustrating for Adam Sharp because I bet he was there thinking, oh yeah, he's going to get out of my way, he'll go into the pit lane and I'll be able to just catch up with Gareth Rowlands. But he's kind of been mugged off there with now he's got to overtake him legitimately on track, even though he knows that at the end of the race he's going to get handed a massive penalty and put down to the bottom.
Yeah, I'm hoping Allegri is not working for someone. I wonder if Rowlands has paid him off.
Yeah. So, kind of mid-pack in the GT3s, we're on board. Well, not on board, but we're having a look at the Porsche of Carolia. And you can see behind Daniel Barnett getting squeezed off the outside of the track by that GT4. But he's definitely going to be pushing to catch up with Carolia as he makes a very late break into the bus stop, but still managed to make it round. So this might be quite interesting. It's looking like Daniel Barnett's fastest lap is very similar to Carolia's fastest lap, and they did. Carolia did a 2:21 last lap, and Barnett with a 2:23. So I'm guessing that's the GT4 traffic playing havoc as usual. At the front, Dan Sedgley is still out front, 5.3 seconds. So the gap's come down a little bit, but with 17 minutes to go, if it continues at that pace, then I think Tavarian's not going to really have a chance of catching and making the overtake. Because obviously you've got to account for the fact that once you've caught them, you then need a couple laps to get a clean overtake on them. So yeah, if Sedgley can keep up this pace, he can definitely win this race. He's in the AMG, which is extremely strong at this track with its straight line speed, with that beefy engine out front.
Yeah, if it's proper engine.
So then down in third place is Leo Wick still, and he is 12 seconds behind Tavarian. So again, I don't think their pace is very similar throughout the race. I don't think Leo Wicks is going to be catching Tavarian anytime soon. But on the other hand, right behind, 2 seconds behind him is Jay Lacey. So that's not an unobtainable gap to make up in the final stages of this race. So you never know. Lacey's going to be hoping that he can catch up, get on that podium. It's gone down to 2.3 seconds now. So yeah, Lacey might be in with a chance of a podium here. He'll have his head down, concentrating as hard as he can, just trying to set consistent fast lap times. On their last lap, Leo Wicks with the 2:20.0 and James Lacey with the 2:19.1, so nearly a whole second quicker in the lap. As someone is coming out of the pit lane, so I'm guessing
It looks like Elgard.
it is Elgard. So what's happened to Elgard then? Let's have a look. In fact, where
I'm
is
seeing
Elgard
Elgard
on the timesheet?
timing sheet.
It's Elgard's
Elgard's
actually down
down
in
in P25.
25th place.
Jeez.
So something's happened to him. I would love to know what, but sadly, we can't know.
I have a feeling that's a head on into a wall kind of incident
Yeah,
with a lot of damage.
20. Yeah, that's he must have lost. To go all the way down to the pretty much the bottom of the GT4 pack. He must have lost what, like 3-4 minutes at least, because of the difference in pace between the two classes.
Yeah, that's definitely heavy damage.
So yeah, I guess yeah, probably heavy damage at the start of the lap, and then had to crawl round, get to the pit lane, wait 4 minutes for your engineers to repair your car, slap some duct tape on it, and then get back out and start trying to unlap himself, or just re-overtake all the GT4s that he's already overtaken like 3 times in this race.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to have to pull out some pace difference like James Lacey, who's brought the gap down to 2.3 seconds off Leo Wicks. He's absolutely flying.
So yeah, their fastest lap's similar. We'll see as they cross the line what their last laps were, and how much difference there was. But I think that's James Lacey going past, or Elgard's let him past since it's blue flags. But that's them just crossed the line, and James Lacey went a 10th quicker than Leo Wicks, so he's bringing the gap down. So yeah, I guess we'll just keep an eye on that gap there. And
I'm going to have to interrupt you. You need to go to P Valley and Greedy. They're currently battling it out as they enter Bruxelles. They went side by side through Les Combes and Malmedy. They're having an absolute whale of a time.
Yeah, look at that, with only 600 separating them at the last split. So off the back of Greedy, you can see Varley is pretty close. Definitely within dive bomb range. Although, got to make it clean so that it doesn't get picked up by the stewards.
Let's call it late braking.
Late braking, yes. A late move.
Well, I mean, Varley's getting a really nice run on Greedy. Greedy's kind of compromising himself with his defensive maneuvers. As they're heading up to, let me get this right, it's coming up to Campus? Yeah, Campus. And onto Stavilo.
Yeah, I agree with your corner naming ability there.
I'm slowly learning my way.
Greedy went pretty wide there. It's fairly easy to get a track limits penalty at that corner, so I'm wondering if there's any people in the new update. You get a little warning, like a little warning counter on your screen. So I'm wondering if there's anyone sitting there with their warning counter maxed out on 3, just praying that they don't get any more in the last 12 minutes of this race. In front of Greedy, we've got Rigel, who is kind of just in no man's land at the moment. He's got he's 8 seconds down on Adam Sharp ahead, but then 5.6 seconds behind, in front of Greedy. So I think he's definitely going to be just praying that the GT3s are nice to him in these last 11 minutes, whether they'll even catch up again.
Definitely. I mean, I'm currently watching Roland's trying to fight Goatfriend at the moment, because they're both going through up to Bruxelles, right behind each other. And yeah, unfortunately, Goatfriend goes a bit deeper, and Roland ends up following him a bit deeper as well. But it looks like Goatfriend is managing to hold off Roland's. Is running, gets a nice drive as Goatfriend goes slightly sideways. I'm grateful this is actually filled with action rather than crashes, because that's what my experience has been around here. It's a lot, like, it's just mainly avoiding crashes all the way up to P3.
Well, I think we've only seen Elgard have a big incident, and we saw Snell Train at the start of the race. On that note, where is Sam Snell Train? What's happened to him? Is he retired? No, he is in P9. So he's managed to make a fair comeback. Or no, actually P9 is last of the GT3s. But he's only 5 seconds down on Daniel Barnett in P8. So he's within distance of getting the position if anything happens to Barnett in the last 10 minutes. So I'm not sure how he's managed to make that time up, because we saw him all the way down in the mid GT4 pack after his first pit stop. So obviously he lost a load of time having to drive around with all the damage, waiting for the pit window to open.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as I said with Spa, you'll easily get time just by following. Adam Sharp has finally managed to get past Allegria about a minute ago.
Oh yeah, after Allegria still hasn't made a pit stop.
Yeah, so Sharp's managed to finally pass him, so he'll be over the moon with that. But yeah, Goatfriend is still trying to defend off Roland.
Look at how close they are coming out of La Source.
To quote a decent commentator that I know, can barely fit a cigarette paper between them. Yeah, it looks like Rollins is going to get the drive down the main straight. He'll also get that slipstream if he tucks in behind Rollins. But it looks like they're side by side.
It's going to be side by side into Les Combes.
Goatfriend with the inside line. Oh, that's it. Easy done. Rollins got past. Oh no, that's Goatfriend.
No. Goatfriend moved to the inside to defend, and then realised that Rollins wasn't quite close enough, so cut back to the outside before the braking zone to get a good run so that he didn't get mugged on the exit. But Rollins looks like he had a little look up the inside there, but not quite got the balls for the big dive bomb.
Yeah, Rollins is currently rubbing Goatfriend going around Bruxelles. Hopefully he'll get the drive now and get a nice drive out of double gauche. Or Puon, as some people call it.
Or Thuon, as I've heard it called.
Yeah, it's many names. Unfortunately, none of the names have transferred onto No Name here, but
no,
yeah,
it's still just called No Name.
Still called No Name as they go into Les Fans, so they can get a drive onto campus. Hopefully, not run wide at Stavelot and then get flat out all the way through Combe-Pourfray, Blanchimont, all the way up to the bus stop chicane.
Yeah, so this is a pretty intense battle for these two guys. Probably going to be a lot of sweat dripping, as it looks like Rollins is gaining a little bit in that slipstream of Goatfriend, so we might see him able to go up the inside in the into the bus stop, as they both seem to get a pretty good run through Blanchimont. Neither of them go wide. The GT3 has come to make it interesting, and I have a feeling
that's Dan Sedgley as well. That is Dan Sedgley. So they're going to want to get well out of the way of him.
There you go. He goes right up to the rear bumper of Goatfriend there. And Rollins gets a good run out of the bus stop, and it looks like maybe he'll make a move.
Oh, well, Goatfriend's covering the inside
really
nicely, but he does pick up a couple of marbles by doing that.
And definitely he's not going to get as good a run. There you go. And he's got the switchback
that's what
turn.
he needed.
So if he can make it stick up Eau Rouge, then Rollins just got a nice switchback after Goatfriend probably went a little too defensive into La Source and compromised his exit onto the straight.
Tell you who's been compromised, that's Matt Higgs in the Porsche. He just crashed off at just after the Stavelot. He's been passed by Carolio and Barnett in the two Porsches. So that's really unfortunate for Higgs, but he's currently now down in P8.
So we've got Dan Sedgley in the lead, is currently over 15 seconds ahead of Tavarian, I think, when it updates. 17 and 7. Sorry, I can't talk. 17.7 seconds ahead of Leo Wicks. What's happened to Tavarian?
Yeah, Leo Wicks just took.
Leo Wicks managed to
going into Les Combes.
So let's see if we can get a little replay on that. So they managed to. Leo Wicks managed to make up the gap of 5 seconds that I said maybe they wouldn't be able to make. But you can see Leo Wicks tucks in behind Elgard, and Tavarian's in the red and blue Ferrari, and I think he just got him on the straight and just got a nice run. So I guess Tavarian had a bad run through Eau Rouge, maybe got a little bit sideways.
I think he got caught behind the GT4 and then saw Elgard and was like, oh, I'll tuck him behind him, and then Elgard tried to back off as well for the blue flag, letting Leo go all the way around him.
So how's Elgard doing then? Has he managed to make his way out of all the GT4 traffic? I don't think so.
No, he's still in amongst the GT4 pack, but that's Roland's now with a drive-through as he tries to pass Goat Friend. So that's his race effectively. Well, race with Goat Friend effectively over.
That's annoying because that was a nice, exciting battle, and in fact, Roland's actually got past, didn't he? So Goat Friend managed to get it back again, but now I guess Roland's was just pushing a little bit too hard and ended up getting track limits, which gives you a drive-through for once you've exceeded track limits 4 times in the race. You get a drive-through, which is brutal at this track, as he gets very close to the bumper, and it looks like Goat Friend actually pulled out of that because he thought he was going to get hit, so he kind of just carried on going straight so that he didn't get hit. And Goat Friend goes past again. No, Roland's goes past again, but obviously he's going to lose 40 seconds with a drive-through. So we go back. Something's happened to Leo Wicks because he's now gone from second down to 4th. So we saw him overtake Tavarian on the Kemmel Straight last lap, and now he's back down in 4th behind James Lacey. Only 3/10 behind James Lacey, so we might see him getting an overtake done. Actually, no, it's just... I'm not sure what it's doing. It looks like Leo Wicks is actually in 3rd, and it's James Lacey that's 3/10 behind. But still, I don't know what happened. He managed to lose the place to Tavarian and then lost 5.5 seconds on top of that. So I'm guessing that must have been a spin or something.
It must have been a spin, or kind of getting a little bit loose on exits and trying to straighten himself up.
So James Lacey's right on his bumper, so hopefully we might see a move coming from him later on in this lap, as they're coming up to, where's this, Les Fans, which is a right-left, and then into the double right-hander of Campos and Stavelot.
Good news for those two, though. Tavarian's currently getting held up by Roland and Goat Friend at the moment, so they're only about... Well, yeah, you can see it there. Tavarian's just lost a bunch of time to Leo Wicks.
Oh yeah, it was a 6-second gap. It's now 4.5. So yeah, you can see how much GT4 traffic, especially when you come up to battling GT4s, it can really affect your the GT3's racing. But that's what everyone signed up for. So Leo Wicks goes extremely defensive into the bus stop. James Lacey brakes very late and actually looks like he's managing to get the move done. And there's a little bit of contact on exit, but Leo Wicks is going to get a better run since he didn't have to take such a tight line through the second part of the chicane. But I'm assuming James Lacey's going to outbrake Leo Wicks again. Turn in.
Oh, careful, lads.
Leo Wicks is really close to him there as he's nearly gets turned into, but it looks like Lacey's got that move done because he's now going to put a GT4, or actually he's going to have to back off up Eau Rouge for the GT4, so we might see Leo Wicks getting a good run. Although if we
looks
jump
like
back,
Leo Wicks will be really angry because from his point of view, it looked like he was brake checked by James Lacey, but of course that was Lacey trying not to hit the GT4 in front. But Leo needs to get his head back on straight because he's got Carzolia right up his chuff as well.
Yeah, I know, that's going to be frustrating for him to lose a position and then be right in the striking distance of another GT3 right behind of RWB Carzolia. So out front, Dan Sledgey's managed to pull the gap up to 30 seconds now, which is absolutely insane. I don't know how he's managed to do that, but Tavarian has 5 seconds over Lacey. So I guess Leo Wicks and Lacey lost a little bit of time in that last half of the last lap while they were battling for that position. So Tavarian's got a nice 5-second gap. I think we're going to have one more lap after this. So I doubt we'll see the top two changing, but you never know. Leo Wicks might absolutely send it on Lacey and have that position back that he just lost. Elgaard's made his way up into P12, but he's still on the same lap as the GT4s, so he's still over 3 laps behind all the rest of the GT4 pack, which is unfortunate. And he's also got a drive-through for track limits. So yeah, he's not had the greatest race. I think he was on the podium last week, and now he's currently running in last place of the GT3. So unfortunate week for him, but I'm sure he'll just move on to the next one and perform well next time.
That's all you can do.
Exactly. So GT4s, we've still got Buchek in first, Verstappen in second, and Helmut in third. Verstappen's only 1.6 behind Buchek, so they've kind of, in fact, they've definitely run away with this race from the start. Neither of them seems to have made many mistakes. They've now got a 22-second lead over Helmut, who has then got a 4-second lead over Goatfriend. And if we look down, Gareth Rowlands, who we saw battling with Goatfriend, is now all the way down in P23 after taking his drive-through penalty, which is very unfortunate. So we'll go on board with Dan Sedgley for the final part of his last lap of the race, as he's got over 30 seconds now lead over P2. He's been consistently doing 219s, low 219s, with the best of 218.7, so that's a pretty insane race pace from Dan Sedgley to be able to consistently do that time, especially in the Merc as well, which can be quite an untamable, well, not untamable, but hard to tame car.
Yeah, he's going to have a lot of requests for people to ask. He's going to have a lot of requests from teams to join them for the 12 hours.
Yeah,
that's his pace over an hour.
Yeah, definitely.
That's phenomenal from him.
And no mistakes. And so as he comes around the bus stop to cross the line and see him weaving, he's clearly quite happy with that win. So yeah, 30 seconds. That's quite insane, to be honest. Considering that's in an hour, so imagine what he could do over 12 hours.
Jeez, yeah, that's 6 minutes? 6 minute lead over
6
12
minutes.
hours?
So
keep it up.
Elgaard's crossed the line now, but taken an 80-second penalty for not taking his drive-through. Tavarian is in P2, but just slowed down before the line. I'm not sure why he did that, but he actually let James Lacey past before the line. So I'm not sure what happened there, but we'll get them on an interview later.
Yeah,
and see what
that's definitely interesting.
But yeah, he's actually let James Lacey past, just coming out of the exit the bus stop.
I wonder if there was a dirty pass.
Yeah, I wonder if there was a little bit of stuff going on.
If there was, fair play to Tavarian for letting James pass. It's good sportsmanship, which is always great to see in racing like this.
I've just seen Martin Schaefer in the Maserati. He's just got a drive-through penalty on the final time going through Blanchimont.
Oh no,
so he's now going to get an 80-second penalty as he crosses the line, and that's going to put him all the way down the order. Yeah, so GT4s, as it was earlier, Buchek and Verstappen they ended with a 42-second lead over Goatfriend in third place, and then Adam Sharp down in fourth. So he's had a decent result. He's won a race and come fourth in a race, which is pretty decent for him.
Yeah, he'll be
some nice
with that.
Points for the championship. So I think I'd definitely be happy with that. I mean, I don't think I'd be winning any of these races anytime soon, but you never know.
Yeah, we were wondering as well what would happen to Allegria, who missed his pit window. And he was slapped with a 130-second penalty, so I don't think that was quite worth it in the end.
Yeah, I don't. I think you may as well just pit, to be honest. Yeah, so unfortunate for Allegria, but I mean, we'll have a rundown, or we'll update once the session ends and the penalties get added to the positions. We'll be able to update you guys on how many places Allegria and Schaefer lost after those. Well, Schaefer's was unfortunate. Allegria's was not sure what he was thinking, not pitting. Whether he just didn't realise there was a pit window or just forgot.
Yeah, it was an interesting strategy, but it definitely did not pay off in the
No,
end.
it definitely didn't. So we'll see. He was in. Yeah, so he's actually dropped down to below Schaefer, and he's gone down to 24th place, which is third to last in the GT4s. So, yeah. In fact, no, it was last of the GT4s who finished the race. So that strategy definitely did not pay off from Allegria. But I think. Do you know if the leaders are ready to be interviewed?
Well, I'll have a look now.
So we've got Dan Sedgley ready. If you want to drag him in, Josh.
Jesus, so many people.
We've got
Dan Sedgley.
Dan Sedgley's ready.
Awesome. Hello, Dan. Can you hear us?
Hello, you right?
Yeah, well. That was fantastic drive from you. It was commanding from start to finish.
Green line. Give me all you got.
How did you do it?
I don't know. My car was useless up Eau Rouge. I don't know if you saw any on board. I had to lift that much. I was so slow down that straight.
Yeah, it didn't seem to impact you too much.
I seemed to get the rest of the lap booked up though, so it's all right, I think.
Yeah, I mean, ending the race with over 30 seconds lead over Tavarian, who ended up giving up the position just before the line and came third. But yeah, 30-second lead over an hour race, that's a pretty insane gap to have.
He must have had a mistake though, didn't he? Because he was only 5 seconds behind me when I got out the pit.
Well,
He got back fairly quick.
yeah, we saw Lacey and Tavarian having some battles, but and then Tavarian ended up giving the position up just before the line, so we didn't actually see what was happening because we were watching the GT4s. But yeah, 30-second lead still. Like, it was 6 seconds after the pits, and then to just stay consistent over the guys behind is pretty impressive.
I was very worried at the start though. I don't know if you saw any of it.
No, the stream was playing up at the start, so we didn't have any video for the start of the race for the first couple laps. So we didn't really see a lot of what was going on, other than we could see the position changing. So if you want to explain why you were so worried at the start.
It's just my setup was absolutely useless at the first sector. that was it.
Fair enough. I mean, we
so much.
As you were coming around the last lap, we were commenting on how the AMG can be a bit of a dog to drive, and we were wondering, I think we went on board with you for quali, and we saw you lifting up Eau Rouge, but yeah, we were wondering how you had we were saying that you must have a fairly decent setup to be able to stay that consistent for the hour, but I guess not.
No, I threw it together about half an hour before qualifying.
Fair enough. Well, fair play. It managed to work out, and you got the race win, so well done.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm just trying to chase down everyone who was on the podium.
I think, have we got Lacey ready, or should we go for? Let's go for Tavarian next, who was P3 in the GT3 class after he gave the position up just on the line. So hopefully we can find out why why that was the case and why he gave up the P2. So, hello, Tavarian.
Hello, Tavarian.
Hello, guys.
So yeah, well, we're gonna have to ask how it went for you, but I've also got a couple other questions for you. But first off, how did you find it?
Well, I find it very good. My pace was very strong in practice, and I was nervous how the pace was going into the race. But got P2 in the quali, and stuck behind Sedley or something, GTR guy.
Sedgley, yeah.
Yeah, Sedgley on the after the first lap. So I felt like I had a bit more pace, but man, he was like. We were very close, so yeah, it was a good battle. And then, I tried to do an undercut, so I pitted in like when there was 35 minutes left. So, but I think I lost to him 6 seconds when he came out of the pits again. So, yeah, it wasn't ideal, but yeah, it was a fun race. But I was pushing too much, and then I spun. So hit the wall, and the other guy behind me sadly crashed me, so I had a lot of damage. So it was just to finish the race. So, but it was awesome.
Yeah, we noticed also at just as you guys were crossing the line, we saw you let past James Lacey in the 69 McLaren. Was there a specific reason for that, or?
No, those guys were in front of me before they touched, so I felt like I had a lot of damage, and like I felt that from my point of view that was like respect, or because he would have been the faster, so I felt like that was a good thing to do, because
Yeah, but still P3 around this track for an hour. That's still amazing going, especially with the pace that everyone else was showing.
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy with P3. So yeah, like just pushing for P1, that was awesome, and the result doesn't speak for like the whole feeling is just insane. So I'm happy with P3 to come away from that. That's very good.
Yeah, how are you feeling for Silverstone next week?
I'm looking forward to it because I never raced there in the leagues yet. So, but for sure I have ridden that track many laps. But I think it's gonna be interesting to see how the weather changes, and hopefully we will get some interesting weather and see how everyone can tackle that.
Definitely. Do you have any questions, Alex?
No, other than just well done for the for getting the P3 over that hour. That was a pretty intense race at the start with you and Dan Sedgley, and then it was unfortunate that you dropped back, but still third place. So really well done.
Yeah, cheers, guys, and thank you for commenting. I'm sure it's very good on the stream. So yeah,
that's all right. We had a lot of technical issues today, but we managed to get through it.
Yeah, sometimes it is.
Yeah.
Anyway,
all right.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you
for joining us. Yeah, it seems everyone wants to go off for their dinner, but luckily we have P1 for GT4, Ignacy Bucek with us. Hello, Bucek, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hello.
Hi. So P1 in GT4, especially with a massive GT4 class compared to the GT3s today. How was it? How were you feeling?
Very good results. It was the first race I had to work really hard for it. I had Christoph on my tail the whole race. He was in my mirror all the time, so it wasn't the easiest, but I'm happy with the result. It's good for the championship.
Yeah, definitely. So I looked at the forecast for today, the weather probabilities for Spa, and it was about a 33% chance of rain of any sort. Were you prepared for the rain, or did you just assume it was going to be dry today?
Well, with some preparation, I had a setup for medium rain, I think. I know the McLaren is quite intuitive in the rain, and I've been doing really well in the Tuesday races when it started raining, so I knew I would do fine. So I did more preparation for the dry conditions.
That's perfect. Yeah, we did notice you having a lot of fighting with Verstappen behind you. Did you feel the pressure at all, or were you kind of quite chilled?
Yeah, I definitely did. I think on raw pace he was quicker than me. I was just playing all the cards I had in my hand. It was his first race in the league, so he pitted at the wrong time, I think. Well, I didn't follow him closely, so I don't know, but I know when to pit to avoid GT3s, and I think he lost quite a bit of time having to deal with them around the 35-minute mark. So I think that was the race-winning play from me.
That's perfect. Do you have any questions, Alex?
No, not questions as such, but I just want to say that it was nice to see you getting the win this week after the unfortunate events of last week.
Yeah, thought I was going for the redemption and I got it, but I still got punted by the GT3, but it was in quali this time, so no
Right,
real hard
okay. So I hope that didn't mess up your fast lapping quality. Can't remember where you qualified in.
So I qualified P2. I haven't gotten an pole yet.
Okay, so you were pretty close to the front anyway, so hopefully that GT3 didn't mess you up too much. But yeah, the race was really consistent. You and Verstappen were pretty much just running away with the race. And yeah, really well done for managing to hold him off and redeem yourself from last week. Well, not yourself, but just get redemption for last week.
Yeah, thank you. Also, McLaren is a bit OP on this track, so that's why we had an easy time running away.
Oh, fair enough. All
Thank
right.
you for joining us, Buche.
Well, yeah, thank you.
Too.
And good luck in your preparation for Silverstone next week.
Thank you. See you guys.
See ya.
So that's unfortunately everyone. P2, P3 guys for GT4 seem to have gone off for tea, gone off for a slash or something. Quick smoke break. But yeah, fantastic stuff today.
Yeah, it was a pretty exciting race after we managed to get it to be streamed. We had a lot of pretty close battles. P1 and 2 of GT4s running away, and then the top 3 of GT3 constantly changing with Tavarian's issues and who else? Who was James Lacey?
Lacey
ending up getting P2. So yeah, that was pretty unexpected right at the end, but definitely if that's what Tavarian wanted to do, then it's definitely a deserved position from Lacey.
Yeah, it's great to see that kind of sportsmanship in this, the respect between drivers and kind of acknowledging when maybe you weren't in right or maybe someone else deserved the position more than you. And at least he fought till the end, which is brilliant to see rather than give up straight away, which made for amazing racing today, even if most people couldn't see it for the first 15 minutes. Hopefully my commentating wasn't too bad.
Josh practicing the radio voice.
Of course. Podcast drops soon.
The RWB podcast. Yeah, so I think that's all we've got for you this week. Hopefully you'll want to come back for next week's Silverstone. It's the British race, so we might see a little bit of rain coming in, spicing things up a little bit.
I really hope they bump up the weather probabilities for
rain.
I
hope they do as well.
It's it's pretty miserable today here in the UK. I don't know about where you are, Alex, but in the north of Scotland, it's absolutely pissing down cats and dogs.
It is awful where I am. It's been raining all day. So yeah, hopefully for us, I hope we see that sort of weather next week, because it will make it very exciting. I've just pulled up the weather probabilities. Sadly, it's only a 30% chance of rain. It's actually less chance of rain than it was today at Spa. So
yeah, is it bad that I'm hoping 6-hour Paul Ricard 2.0 happens?
With the yellow thunderstorm causing absolute havoc.
Yeah, if anyone's still watching and needs something to watch, definitely check out the last 2 hours of the 6-hour of Paul Ricard. That's on the RWB International Racing YouTube channel. Definitely take a look. It's myself and my commentator at the time, James, we were absolutely pissing ourselves with laughter, full of action. I mean, we saw Matt Higgs in the Porsche go from, I think it was P2 down to P8 in the space of a lap, and people crashing out on straights, literally going straight and then spinning off at a moment's notice in the pitch black. It was, me and James absolutely loved it. We were howling.
I can say from a driver's perspective, it was absolutely horrible. It was just it was just so scary the whole time going down that straight.
But yeah, I think rather than us chatting about it, definitely go check it out. And yeah, let's wrap things up because I need a piss.
Yeah, and I need to go and eat
Yeah.
something. So hopefully
Definitely.
you guys can join us next week. And thanks for watching. And thanks to our sponsors, Racing Sim Tools and SimSock, for making these leagues possible.
Yeah,
And yeah.
definitely. It's well, I have little socks that have little rubber stoppers on the bottom of them, so I would definitely check out SimSock if you're a sim racer. It's definitely changed how I drive. I don't use sim socks, so it's not an endorsement from me personally, but having proper socks is absolutely brilliant.
I might need to check them out as well. All right, well, thanks, Josh, and thanks everyone for watching and supporting us through the technical issues today and not just leaving us. And yeah, that's it. Hopefully we'll see you next week.